Hey, how you doing? It's your girl Smokey Jones, and right now it's time for Smokey Said. And for those of you who are just joining me for the first time, this is where we get together and talk about relationships and affairs of the heart. I am not an expert, by the way. Let me just go ahead and throw that in there. This is my disclaimer. Just a random chick on the internet that's trying to give you a little game and help you out in this game we call love. All right. So with that being said, let's get off into today's topic. Lately, I've been talking to a lot of men and women about just the difficulties of dating, especially when you get, a little older, you get over the age of 30, it becomes a little bit more difficult because a lot of people are more settled by then. So that makes it equally as harder to try to seek out and find love, okay? So that is what I'm here for. That is my life mission to help everybody fall in love, okay? So like I said before, I've been talking to a lot of men and women and they've been talking about the difficulties of dating. And what I've been finding is I don't even think that a lot of people realize that you have to be in a certain place to date. And what I mean is to even start dating and looking for somebody, you have to make sure that you have yourself together. Now, I've talked about this before, so I'm going to go a little more in depth today because I think some of you are missing the point. I've been getting like a lot of messages about what do you mean you got to have yourself together, Smokey? Well, what I mean is, okay, let me make this real clear. What I mean by having yourself together is making sure that number one, that you are a consenting adult and you can take care of yourself, okay? What I mean by taking care of yourself is making sure that you are not showing up to a date or dates or these new people that you're meeting and dumping all of your problems on the table, whether that's mental, emotional, financial, whatever. You have to have all those things together. And I don't mean that you need to be perfect. I mean these things need to be in control. You need to be in control of your life. You need to make sure that you can take care of yourself, feed yourself, house yourself. These are the things I'm talking about. You need to make sure you're not showing up on the date and you're trauma dumping, crying, dumping problems in somebody else's lap that you don't even know. These are the things that I'm seeing. People do this way too often, okay? I've had it to happen to me as well. And I look at it as a red flag. I'm not going to show up to a date bringing all my problems to the date. The purpose of the date is for me to meet this person and get to know this person. My problems are not even his problems yet because I don't know him, okay? So they shouldn't be his problems. And likewise, his problems shouldn't be mine. We should just be meeting up and simply getting to know each other, okay? So this is what I mean by having yourself together. And real quick, I just want to touch on mental health real quick. If you've listened to any of the previous episodes, I always stress that you have to be mentally well to even have a healthy relationship. It's important for your mental well-being to be intact in order for you to have a healthy relationship, okay? And I'm going to break it down for you, okay? Because I know a lot of times I get a lot of messages about Smokey, what did you mean by this and what did you mean by that? I'm going to break this down for you, okay? If you're not mentally well, how can you spot somebody else who's not? Okay. If you're not mentally well, you may be involved in a dysfunctional relationship or even have dysfunctional habits or even accept other dysfunctional habits from people that you're dating because it's normal to you. You following what I'm saying? So that's why I'm always stressing the true road to happiness is one, being honest with yourself about your mental well being, okay? You have to be honest about that. And if you've been out here trying to date people and you've been striking out every time, that may be the reason. You may be picking the wrong person because you have some things that you have not dealt with, things that you aren't willing to accept. It's okay to talk to somebody about that and go and see somebody. That's perfectly fine. That's what the doctors are for, okay? If you hurt your leg, you go and see a doctor about your leg, don't you? But when you hurt your heart, you won't go and see a doctor, okay? And that will affect a lot of things as far as relationship goes. It will affect the type of people you're choosing. And I'm speaking to men and women because we both make mistakes on choosing potential partners. Why are we making these mistakes? Because things that are normal to us or things that we've been exposed to, we accept. And then once we get involved with these people and find out that we can't function in this unhealthy situation, we break up. And then we get mad and then we get bitter because we feel like, hey, they lied to us. They did this wrong. They did that wrong. Still just shooting the blame out there, but not looking at what we're doing. And that is we're open and accepting of certain behaviors because it's normal to us, but it's not healthy. Okay. So this is why I always say before you go out and start dating, make sure that you have yourself together. That's what we're talking about today, right? making sure you have yourself together. And that's, like I say, that's a big one. I see that across the board with men and women. And mental health doesn't mean that you're crazy or you're running around doing crazy things. It just may be the thoughts you're having, the thoughts you may have about men being one way, or the thoughts you may have about women being one way, or even dealing with somebody that's speaking to you in a bad way. Verbal abuse is a big one. I won't even allow a man to curse at me, but a lot of women will, and vice versa. A lot of women will curse at men and they will accept it. That right there is not healthy, and sometimes it often leads to physical abuse on both parts. So I'm just giving you that for an example, okay? Verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, all dysfunctional and all leading back to what may be considered normal to you because of what you've been exposed to and what you have seen other people accept around you. It's not healthy, and you can't have a good, healthy relationship if any of those things are present, okay? Like I said before, not an expert, just seen a lot, did a lot, okay? All right, so moving on. What else did we say? As far as having yourself together to even be ready to go on a date. Financially, let's talk about the money. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the money. And I know some of y'all about to get mad, but I'm going to tell the truth. A lot of y'all running around looking for somebody to take care of y'all. Not going to happen. Like I say, unless you are a pro doing favors. Now, this is not for the pros. This is not for the people who are out there, men and women, taking money for favors, okay? If that's your thing, hey, do you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about people who are looking for a healthy, happy relationship. You cannot show up broke and expect, yeah, I said it, broke, expecting somebody to pick up all your bills, find you somewhere to live, buy you a car, fix your credit. That's not gonna happen. I mean, it may happen for some. Don't get me wrong. There's some people out here who they got skills, they got game, okay? They might have got lucky, but across the board, that's not going to happen. You're an adult. You need to take care of yourself. Don't show up looking like a bum, okay? All right, so what else did we say? We said mentally, you're stable, intact. Financially, you're at least independent. Nobody said you had to have a credit score of 800, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you need to have your finances under control, all right? Make sure you have something to eat and somewhere to live and some heat and some lights. That's all Smokey said, okay? So the next thing we're going to talk about as far as, are you ready to date? Because in order to find a relationship, you have to actually date. In order to find a healthy relationship, let me say that, because anybody can find a relationship. I can go out and find a man today if that's what I wanted, okay? It's not an issue. I'm saying in order to have a healthy relationship, you have to have certain things in order, okay? So the next thing that I want to talk about and go a little in depth with, we talked about mental, we talked about financial and emotional, right? Okay. Another thing that we need to go over real quick, as far as dating goes and making sure that you are ready to date, is the fact that a lot of you all are lying to yourselves. And when I say lying to yourselves, I'm talking about your expectations. Your expectations as far as what you have to offer and what you're looking for. You do it all the time. Stop lying to yourself, okay? You have to be realistic. And whenever I bring up being realistic about your expectations with people, because I have this conversation often. I ask people all the time that come to me and say, I can't find the right person. And whenever I say, what are your expectations? And they start telling me what their expectations are. And then I ask them what they're bringing. I get the blank stare or I get attitude, okay? You know who you are. Stop doing that. Stop lying to yourself. You're out here looking for one thing, but you're bringing nothing to the table outside of your swag or your looks. And that's simply just not enough. Okay. You know how you see two people and you say, dang, they get along so good and they happy and everything. The reason why they're happy is because they probably did it the right way, which is they followed the laws of attraction, chemistry. They had chemistry. They were realistic. And they had to make some sacrifices as well. They didn't go into the relationship being stingy or lying to themselves or lying to the other person. This is probably why they're still together, and this is probably why they're living happily ever after. So you cannot get around these things that I'm talking about. As far as having yourself together, as far as having realistic expectations, I'm going to say that again because that's a big one. Because a lot of y'all running around expecting one thing, and y'all ain't bringing nothing to the table, okay? Outside of I look good and I am who I am. That's not enough, okay? okay? It takes more than that to keep a relationship going. Another thing I want to touch on real quick while you're out here dating and looking for love is, do you even know what a real relationship is? Have you ever saw a real relationship? Have you ever been in one? Do you think you have? Okay. A real relationship is between two people who have mutual respect and love and understanding for each other. Okay? Love, respect, and understanding. And understanding that you got to take the good with the bad, the bitter with the sweet. You are there for this person. Everything is not going to be perfect, okay? A lot of people are running around looking for this perfect romance or this perfect marriage, and they haven't even experienced that or been exposed to that or even raised with that. You have to know what that is. You have to know the difference between love and lust. That's another thing I want to touch on. A lot of people get involved and it's just straight up lust, but they think it's love. And then when it fizzles away, they get mad, they get bitter, they get upset, they feel used and abused. Why? Because they confuse love with lust. Love does not happen instantly. It grows over time. It usually starts with chemistry. It usually starts with respect and a mutual understanding between you and this other person. And it involves a lot of communication. Nothing is assumed. Everything is talked about, and you can talk to this person. Why? Because you have a mutual respect for them and you want to understand them, which leads to love and long-term relationships. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. You are not going to find love overnight. Beware of the person that shows up perfect, that's love bombing you, that's just ready to love. Okay, because it doesn't happen overnight. It's a beautiful thing, but it's not a fairy tale. So again, that goes back to the other things that I was talking about: being realistic about your expectations, being realistic about what true love is, knowing the difference between love and lust. Okay, lust is very strong. That's the first thing a lot of people feel when they are attracted to somebody. As soon as they see them, the lust kicks in. If it looks good to them, if it's what they're looking for, that lust kicks in right away. Okay, and they confuse it. They confuse it. They're on this high because they're really attracted to this person. They desire this person, and they're not even taking the time to get to know the person, to even know if this person is even looking for the same thing that they're looking for. Why? Because there's no communication. There's a lot of assumptions just because of what is going on, just because things are good right now. And then later on, when it falls apart, because the only thing that was holding it together was lust in the first place, which, trust me, fades. Okay? Love doesn't fade. Lust does. All right, so keep that in mind as well. And remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just a random chick on the internet trying to give you some game, just trying to help you out in this game of love. All right, so do you remember everything I said, everything that we went over tonight? Ask yourselves these questions. Do you have realistic expectations? Do you know the difference between love and lust? Do you even know what a real relationship looks like? You should. If that's what you're out here seeking, you should know what goes into having a real relationship. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that you may not know. Okay, it's nothing wrong with that at all. Ask questions, do some research, talk to some couples who are really in love. Okay, talk to some people that had a real attraction for each other. I have people like that in my life. I've asked them a lot of questions. This is why I know these things. Okay, because a lot of their answers are the same across the board, and it's really basic. It's not rocket science. Okay, we miss a lot of things because we're impressed by things that glitter to us. We're impressed by it. If I see a good looking guy, of course I'm impressed. I love men. I love looking at them. They look good to me. So I'm going to be impressed. But I've learned to talk to them, to go deeper, to find out what their expectations are, what they're really looking for. And I suggest you do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, start talking to these people. And I mean face to face. Look them in their face when they're talking to you. You can see a lot when you're looking at somebody's eyes, regardless of what they're saying or what they're doing. Look into their eyes while they're talking to you. Are they looking at you or are they looking away? Are they fidgeting? That's a red flag right there. And so you need to take the time. And I know it seems like a lot of work, but if you do this, if you take your time and do the basic thing that I said, simple communication, and just looking and watching, you'll save yourself a lot of time. You're going to start to see people who don't have good intentions for you, people who are on BS. It's going to become really clear to you, and you're going to move on. You're not going to waste days, weeks, months, and years on this. Save yourself some time and some energy and some heartbreak, okay? This is the one thing that I'm always confused about, and I see everybody doing it. Whenever you get a new phone, you'll go and buy a case, right? You'll hurry up and go out there and buy a phone case, but you won't do it with your heart. You won't guard your heart. You'll just open it up to anybody just because they look good and they're saying the right things, okay? So remember, Smokey said that if you'll buy a phone case for your phone, Make a case for your heart. Guard your heart, okay? Because you're going to meet all kinds of people in this life, in this experience, and everybody doesn't have good intentions. But all you have to do is use your eyes, use your ears, watch, listen, pay attention. And if you do that, trust me, eventually one day you'll find the right person, okay? And you're going to be surprised too, because it's going to be somebody you wasn't even thinking about. You know why? Because you're going to take your time, you're going to talk to people, get to know people, you're going to discard the trash, and then you'll find your gem, all right? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I know I was a little long-winded tonight, but again, like I said, a lot of people running around making the same mistakes. And I'm not an expert. And don't feel bad. I've made some of the same mistakes. That's why I know, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, okay? And I want to thank you again for tuning in. And if you like what we're doing, make sure you tune in every Tuesday around this time where we get together and have these little conversations about affairs of the heart. And once again, before I go, don't feel bad if you didn't know, because now you do. All right.